Darrow here. Welcome to another episode of Somewhere Out There. This time we're going to go into Chapter 4 of Bud Hopkins' book Intruders. Chapter 4 of Intruders, Robbie, Tommy, and the Bogeyman, takes us deeper into the saga of intrigue around the Copley Woods. A few days before Thanksgiving, a little over a month after Kathy's 6-day stay with Bud and his associates in Manhattan, Kathy called Bud with an alarming incident that had occurred. She detailed how she had seen things out of the corner of her eye that when she looked directly were not there, and that she had felt creepy and nervous all day. After putting her 2 sons to bed, she was awakened at 5 in the morning by a blood-curdling scream from her son Robbie. Only 4 years old at the time, Robbie was terrified of a man with lights around his large head who came in his wall and into his closet, going back and forth while not letting Robbie move. He claimed that the man wanted his little brother Tommy. He wouldn't sleep in his room for a night due to his fright. Other details emerged in later conversations, such as the man with the big head having an invisible mouth, quote-unquote. Kathy also phoned Bud about a week after the bedroom episode to inform him that she had found Tommy when she had went to get him up for breakfast, covered with blood. His face, bedclothes, and wall had blood all over them, and when she rushed him into the emergency room, the doctor informed her that he had had a massive nosebleed and that he had suffered a tiny puncture high up inside his nostril. Here Bud broke from Kathy and her son's experiences to briefly discuss a lady named Margaret Bruning's response to his book Missing Time. She wrote a letter to Bud describing an incident when she had been 5 years old in which she had awoke to her name being called with instructions to go to the kitchen. 3 men with uniforms, but not police, no lips, and quote-unquote bad eyes, took her by unlocking the door latch without touching it to a craft outside where she was experimented on and returned to her room, waking up with blood all over her pajamas, nose and ears. She had woke her mother and the neighbors screaming during the night. Additionally, a lady friend of Bud's named Mary had had an episode in the 1960s in which she, her husband, and 2 young sons, Tommy and Robbie's age, had been sleeping when the parents were awakened by the 2 boys screaming. They were huddled in fear in their beds when their father rushed to their room to be told of a bogeyman with a large head going back and forth between their closet and beds. But also discussed the generational trend which abductions seem to be taking, discussing Sandy Thomas's little boy who came crying into her bedroom in 1984, telling her about a man with a big head and funny eyes coming out of his closet and scaring him. Then something had pinned him down and bit him on his back. Several months after, Bud was shown the scar on his back above his left hip of the same type Kathy Davis exhibited. Returning to the Davis debacle now, 2 years later, Robbie came into Kathy's room terrified of a red tarantula, quote-unquote, moving down his wall, which after more thorough explanation was deemed to be a red light casting rays. She let him sleep with her, pulling the covers up on him. A little later, she looked up from her television to see a small gray-skinned figure walk by her open bedroom door. When she jumped up to check on Tommy, who was still in his room, there was a flash of light outside her bedroom window. When she inquired of Tommy, he told her he had dreamed of the bogeyman coming into his room. Both boys picked the same drawing depicting the gray man Kathy had seen, easily without assistance, from a set of 4 different sketches. Jumping back to the week in 1983 when Robbie saw the big-headed man in his room and Tommy suffered the nosebleed, another bizarre event Kathy suffered was remembered. She recalled a dream in which she was lying on a table with her nightgown pulled up under her breasts, being patted on the belly near her navel by the same big-headed guy. He was pleasant and asked her how she felt. She responded by saying tired and crampy, and he was pleased with that response. She woke up with her underwear on her bed outside the covers, and she knew she had not taken it off. Bud then told of a couple more strange incidents experienced by Johnny, Laura's husband. If you remember, Laura was Kathy's older sister. He had gone hunting with a couple buddies in 1983 near Spencer, Indiana. He had awakened in the pre-dawn to walk into the cabin's living room where he saw a bright beam of light searching outside. Then he noticed two figures standing outside, assuming they were his companions. But the next thing he remembered was standing in the living room watching his friends making breakfast. He had decided not to tell his buddies about it. A month later, he was driving his truck, his pride and joy, to work about 5:30 a.m. when he slowed to pull out onto a main road, glancing in his rearview mirror at the same time. To his horror, a man with a wide-brimmed western hat was sitting in the back seat. He stopped and leaped out, running about 20 feet in an open area before looking back at the truck. It was vacant. He sold his beloved truck the next day and refused to explore the events under hypnosis. In 1984, after a mysterious problem with his new truck, Johnny was confronted on a dark road by two little men who just appeared. Johnny lost a period of 6 hours, after which he refused to remain any place by himself, even following Laura, his wife, from room to room in the house. Bud visited Kathy's family for 6 days in January of 1984, conducting numerous interviews of the Davises and neighbors and the family members, making their veracity all the more probable. On the last night of his stay, Kathy disclosed a secret that made the Copley Woods case take on another dimension. She felt she had a daughter and had seen her before, and would see her again. Joe Hero here. Until next time, be safe.